Good evening. It being 5:30, Monday, March 23rd, I will call to order the bi-weekly, bi-monthly, twice-monthly meeting of the Shelburne Select Board. We do have a quorum with Rod and I in attendance. First item on the agenda, and by the way, welcome Finance Committee for joining us tonight. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes for the March 2nd, which was a special select board meeting. Yes, an
Yes, yep.
executive session meeting. And March 2nd, our last regular meeting. I have reviewed, didn't find any changes in content. Rod, how about yourself?
I'm good with them.
Would you like to do a
I
motion
make I
both?
make a motion we accept March 2nd and March 9th meetings,
Uh,
minutes, excuse me,
as submitted, I will
as submitted. Yes.
second that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Rod?
Aye.
And I am I. Motion passes 2-0-0. We will drop down to liaison reports as we wait for 5:45, our first appointment meeting. We have four tonight. Any liaison reports from you this evening, Rod?
I went to a emergency management meeting last Thursday, Tom and I, South Deerfield Fire Department. Learned a lot of valuable stuff, and I brought myself, and I guess attended. No, it wasn't last Thursday. It was the Thursday before. Excuse me. And then last Thursday, I went to one of their training mission or training seminars and viewed that. Other than that, that's about it.
Okay. Andrew has just joined us. We're in liaison reports. Andrew, do you have one for us this evening?
Yes, I do. I did meet with Kate Chadwick and Joan Livingston from Buckland and Christian LaPlante from the Three Town Downtown Project. And he did give us an update on his activities, and I encouraged him to share his doings with all of you. So um, he has that on his schedule, and will be contacting Terry to set up a presentation here. As I mentioned, you were eager to hear directly from him, so that is on tap and will be coming up in the next little while. I don't know exactly when he plans to approach us, but he and Kate have been busy and done some good work on the website and the passport project. I don't know if you read about that in the paper, that he's doing that with the several towns that he's working with to promote business activity. And he has some other, he's working with Buckland on helping them sort out their pocket park project, which seems to be stalled. Um, so we'll see whether there's any I mentioned that the Shelburne Pocket Park would be a happy recipient of any unused funds over in Buckland, so we'll see whether that materializes or not.
Don't hold your breath.
Yes, we'll see. Um, but so that's that. I did meet with Jeff this morning about highway stuff. Um, they have been busy and are getting their sweeping equipment ready for spring and sweeping up all the sand that has been spread about. Um, he mentioned that uh, the bridge by the library that is next on tap for replacement, that the Earthworks Western Earthworks Company is getting materials procured and ready to go. He thinks they'll be starting that project in June or July, and so he'll be working with Mass DOT to close that section of the road for the month or so that they'll be there. Um, and he said the gravel roads are holding up in mud season so far. And they're uh, he's meeting with the Conservation Commission to go ahead on paving on Hawks Road, and whatever is left over will be allocated to Smead Hill Road. The Unfortunately, the Dragon Brook Bridge, where we have the temporary bridge down on Bardwell Road, has gotten delayed. Mass DOT um, sort of delayed on completing their um, design work. The engineering firm said that don't expect that for a while, and so the result is that we are going to miss the MassWorks application deadline for implementation funds. And they said, well, that's the way it is, and you'll have to wait till 2027. So
Andrew, I'm a little confused. You said the Dragon Brook Bridge. Are you mixing the two up or am I mixed up? I
there
thought
is,
Earthworks is doing the Dragon Brook Bridge.
well, there is a, maybe I'm calling it the wrong thing, but the bridge, I thought the bridge with the temporary bridge down over it on Bardwell is the Dragon Brook Bridge.
That's not on, well, I guess it is on Bardwell. That is the Dragon Brook Bridge, right? And that
Yes.
spot is in play. Aren't you talking?
That's the one where the DOT has delayed on their design and will take longer.
Well, who's ordering materials for the other one you mentioned then? I'm confused.
Western Earthworks.
For
They're the
what?
ones, they were the low bidder on the one above the library.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The library one. Okay.
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're both along that same stretch of road, but in different places.
Okay. And I got confused with the third one. I forgot about the library one. The third
Right.
one being the Bardwell's Ferry Bridge. So, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, and I think that's pretty much it.
Very good. Um, Welcome back, Terry, I will say. After a week vacation, we missed
Thank
you.
you.
I'm sure you came back to a couple of things to do, and thank you for going through that and joining us tonight. Anything, I have a couple things that are town hall related I'll mention if you have anything for us.
The only thing I was going to mention that while I was away, Angel reported that our mini splits were down, and the heating contractor, although I haven't heard the results of their assessment, has said that they believe there might be another freon leak. So I'm waiting to hear back about that. They came in 2 days with no heat, and you have to go through this whole process of shutting down the master switch and turning each unit back up. And it's happened 3 times now in less than 2 weeks. So I don't know if you have more on that, Rick.
Just a little bit, but yeah, obviously the concern with the town hall is went in somewhere in the neighborhood of the same time frame as the Cowell Gym ones, where we know we have the lines between outdoor and indoor units. That company's gone out. They're apparently defective, if that's the right word. In any event, they just keep springing leaks. And for the Cowell, there's discussion if that continues, it's going to be a lot cheaper just to rip them out and start over. And I'm afraid, or I'm hoping we're not looking at the same thing at Town Hall, because that could very well be it. We've had several problems, but yeah, they did go in and look at it. They did have to top off the Freon or the coolant or the agent, whatever it is. I don't know if they're using Freon anymore, but you know what I mean.
It
Uh,
is Freon.
is Freon good?
Yes.
Um, so in looking at it, when those went down, there was also problems with the oil furnace. And Hartnett Plumbing is coming to town hall tomorrow to try and fix the furnace and get that running again, the boiler furnace. And while they're there, the handicap toilet in the first floor of town hall has been clogged for a week or more. And they said, we'll just do that the same time we're there tomorrow, working on the furnace. So they've got a twofer going on that. The only other thing I had was, I've got a few minutes, is we did receive a communication budget-wise that we'll see later on. Northeast IT, Terry had worked with them to try and get things squared away for the preparation of this year's budget, and they sent a reply back that they're experiencing more service hours due to threats and vendor licensing subscription services, cyber monitoring, cloud infrastructure, hosting services, internal labor and operation delivery costs, and sustained increase in service delivery hours over multiple years. And I think they're in a multi-year contract and finding the current situation not right for them. And so they're looking to increase their budget line item by 20% for next year as a one-year final, which would not cause the restructuring of the service model itself. And that would adjust the monthly cost from 2,306 to 2,767. So it's a bit of a jump, but not horrible. And that will be addressed, I'm sure, again later in a new contract at some point. I don't know when it renews. Do you, Harry?
Just to be clear, we're not in a multi-year contract. We renew annually, and the cost is typically based on the number of hours. We enter each year with what they think our hours will be. And then, as you noted in their report, we've by far exceeded those hours. So we'll be having a much deeper discussion in the coming budget year to see where changes can be made. But I also look at it as the cost of one cyber security threat would be 3 times what we're paying, if not more. So some of the phishing emails we're receiving are coming from all over the country. And all it would take is a person to click on a link. So I appreciate their diligence in keeping us secure.
Yeah, just to give folks a rough idea, in 2022, the total hours was 76. 2023, 121, 159 in 2024, and 167 in 2025. So they're definitely giving us a lot more service than was originally expected. So that's just an aside, semi-liaison report.
Rick? Oh,
yes,
do you have more? I just realized I had a second page of things that I forgot to add in. So
okay, go for
shall I
it.
throw them in?
Please do.
Okay. Just wanted you to know that George Sinister has given his 2 weeks notice, so he will be departing from the part-time ranks. And Jeff is looking at the vacant laborer spot and thinking he will post that maybe in July when the new year begins. He's got a few options he's looking at with present and former staff, but nothing defined yet. And I guess we both had a question about if anybody has any knowledge. Terry, do you know what's actually going on with the solar over at the pole barn? Is that the inverter getting replaced, or is that something else? You're muted.
The inverter was replaced on one of the arrays. I'm not sure. I have yet to hear a report, but I know PV Squared is working on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jeff mentioned that he thought the array, the inverter that got replaced was on the garage and not the pole barn. But so I guess there's still a question as to what's going on over at the pole barn. But we'll find out.
Mm.
That's it.
Very good. Right on time. 5:45, we have our first appointment. Finance Committee, there you are, is with us. Um, We'll begin with this. This is a joint presentation that we slipped in at 5:45 for a 15-minute block, kind of last minute, because they're kind of straightforward and simple, and share a common theme. The Zoning Board of Appeals is not having a representative tonight, as I understand it, due to conflicts. But we do have in our packet a letter from signed by the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, with a very extensive list of reasoning why they would like to request a pay increase by the hour for their administrative assistant. And that would be Faye Whitney. And looking at a number for that. March 5th meeting, it was voted unanimously by the Zoning Board of Appeals to support that hourly rate increase for their administrative assistant. On your zoning board expense Excel file, you can see that representation of the 30 per hour, an estimated 125 hours. John Richardson is with us.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me all right?
I can barely see the top of your head, and I see the word
I
John.
know it's a
I can
problem.
hear you.
I need to make an adjustment on my camera.
Came on March.
Oh, did you want to have any comments on the request?
No, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting someone?
They were talking, I think, somewhere else. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I think we're very fortunate to have Faye as our administrative assistant. You know, I've worked with a lot of people over my career, but I haven't run into anybody that's quite as efficient and as helpful as Faye is. And the amount of knowledge and experience she has is extremely valuable in the kind of work we do. And I'm sure it is as far as the Zoning Board of Appeals is concerned. And I know our board supports this request for a raise, and we realize that finances are always tight, but it's not like we're talking about a full-time person. I think with Faye, what I worry about more than anything, and it's something that's affected me in my law practice, is that it's almost hard to figure out how you charge for your time when you're just doing a little something here and a little something there. And I think by increasing her rate to the $30 will compensate her for that extra time that she's always putting in and doesn't presently charge for. And I just think it would be a wonderful thank you to her. And just, I don't know, she's just a very special person. We're blessed to have her. So, I mean, that's sort of my position on this. I just think she's worth every penny of it. Anybody have any questions? I did talk to Noah Grunberg this morning, and he was sorry that nobody could come, but I thought their letter that he emailed me a copy of this morning adequately describes how talented she is. So that's our case, and hopefully you'll say yes, or eventually we'll say yes, and that's sort of it. Rick, you've probably worked with her, right?
I did. I filled an unexpired term on the planning board before joining the select board. Her knowledge, her background and her eagerness to get things straight is unparalleled in my opinion. I thought she was terrific.
Yeah.
I've also attended several of your meetings and seen her in action there as well, and I concur that one of the things that we face as a town and as our fiduciary responsibility requires is keeping people that know what they're doing and not losing them over a few dollars. And so the difference in her previous pay to this, to me, is a few dollars and would be well worth it. But that's simply my opinion, not that of the board or the finance committee. Your operating costs are level across, and the only change, the increase from a budget of 3,308 for 2026 is up roughly 1,000 to 4,350. The difference being the line item for the part-time clerical assistant. And that is a budget figure, not a pay level. So it only gets spent if time is billed.
Yeah. I think we're lucky on the Conservation Commission in Shelburne that we don't have a lot of things going on in wetland areas. It's usually pretty quiet. I'm really grateful that pipeline went away. That would have been horrible. But yeah, no, I see what some other Conservation Commission have for responsibilities, and we've lucked out. Watch me regret saying that. But yeah, no, she's highly talented, and experience needs to be weighed in the equation.
Right. And John, you serve on the Conservation Commission, not the ZBA.
Oh, correct. Yes.
So
Yes, I'm the clerk.
just to clarify the conversation,
Yeah.
the letter is from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the numbers I'm quoting is the Zoning Board expense
Okay.
budget. We'll get to the Conservation Commission one shortly, but the subject matter crosses over from the two because the biggest change is that. Any questions or comments from either of the Select Board members? Any comments or questions from the Finance Committee?
I think we're all set, Rick.
Okay. Then in this same block of time, we are entertaining the Conservation Commission budget presentation. In that case, the operating budget from fiscal 2026, our current year, to the next fiscal year request is from 3,241 to 4,275. I believe there's a slight association and training increase under operating costs. I think that's the only thing there. The bulk of that increase from 3,200 to 4,200 ballpark is in clerical with the exact same request as put in by the Zoning Board of Appeals from the Conservation Commission to increase Faye Whitney's hourly, their administrative assistant rate to $30 an hour. Again, it's budgeted at an hour, a volume hour figure, but it's again only expended if it's used and billed. And John spoke to it already. Do we have any questions or comments from the Select Board members on this budget request item?
I have nothing.
I'm assuming, Rick, that we are using and billing that entire line item if the experience you described is correct.
I don't follow.
The experience could do.
I don't.
You were
It's
saying
a-
that, what's
It's an
that?
hourly position, so she only charges for the hours she puts in. So if you look at the budget sheet before you, you'll see that, of what's budgeted this year, although she hasn't been billing weekly. In the case of the Conservation Commission, there's about 350 spent so far. So it just depends upon their caseload, how many hearings and applications that come before them.
Oh, okay. I'm misunderstood. I thought you were saying that Faye was working far more hours than she was billing for.
No.
That was spoken and by John, and
Okay.
I believe she does, to be honest with you. You know,
Okay. Oh, but even if she were billing for them, she wouldn't necessarily be billing up to the full amount on the line item, because that depends on the workflow.
Oh,
Exactly.
both those items.
Okay. I understand it now. Thank you.
Finance Committee. Comments, questions on conservation?
I think the only comment I'd make is that both of those items, the zoning board and the conservation commission for that clerical assistance, we're seriously over budgeting based on our past experience there. You know, last year, 2025, we spent $547 and $589. We're budgeting 3,000 for each one of them. And so far this year, we're $251 and $348. We're budgeting $3,000. You know, we're budgeting a lot more than we're actually spending.
So point well taken that the budget line item, the request item, is higher substantially than what has actually been billed in the previous 1 year, fiscal year 2025. 2026 isn't done yet, but not contesting the hourly rate.
Yeah, even with the increased rate to $30 an hour, yeah, if you didn't increase the 2026 request, you'd still have plenty of money based on our experience.
And only person we have from the Conservation Commission, there's no one here to speak to that for the zoning board, would be John, if you have any further comments.
On what Jim just said, or
Yes, his point being that in 2025, you requested, you put in a budget line item of $2,100. I'll use round numbers, $2,100 for clerical work. She billed 590 in round numbers for the entire year. So he's saying we're budgeting a lot more than's being billed.
Yeah.
For the current year, fiscal 26, you bill your line item for clerical was $2,166, and 6 months in, there's only 348 billed. So they're saying that, okay, you're going up now to $3,000 requests for next fiscal year, but based on the previous two, that may or may not be hit. But again, as Terry mentioned, it's based on what comes before you, how much work has to be done. So it's 6-7. What the kids say? I'm sorry, I had to do that on myself. So, any thoughts on that, John?
Well, no, just that I would expect a thank you card from the Finance Committee for the fact that we're not spending all the money that they budget. You know, what I don't want to get into is a situation. Well, first of all, I just would like to be able to raise her to $30 an hour, and I suspect we're not going to spend all the money that we've asked for. But I don't want to get to a point where we do spend it, and all of a sudden we've reached. What happens if we reach the budget amount and we go over?
We have a reserve account. We put additional funds into the account for you.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying that we could raise her rate to $30 an hour?
We're not arguing that at all.
Pardon?
We're not saying that we are raising it. We're just saying that based on your prior requests and what you actually expended, the request was kind of over budgeted, and I think that's what he's saying.
And what we're saying, John, is that, you know, if we take the $3,000 here, we're taking $3,000 out of our taxpayers' pockets just in case we might need it. But by history, we haven't needed it. Do we need to take that money out of our taxpayers' pockets, or can we leave some of it there?
Rick, I just want to point out that we certainly, the boards could entertain reducing the number of hours budgeted, but every board that has part-time assistants or every committee has 125 hours budgeted for clerical assistance. I think the planning board is the only exception. they might have 200. But back in the day, that's what was budgeted. But if both boards feel that they can operate with 100 hours of clerical based on 2 years of history, I'd say it's worth asking them to consider cutting back.
Well, the Conservation Commission is at 100 hours,
Okay.
and it's the zoning board that did 125. But you're saying that's pretty much been the baseline that has been budgeted for
Yes. 125 has been the baseline, but conservation apparently cut back, I don't know how many years ago. Planning board, I think, is at 200 hours for their clerical.
Okay.
That's a little, you really never know what's going to come up. We've been, as I said, we've been fortunate that we don't have a lot of issues to deal with this last year, but it doesn't mean this next year is going to be the same.
Okay. Well, I think we covered that. We'll see how it plays out and where we go from here on that.
All right.
Any other questions or comments, Finance, Select Board?
Nope, I think we're all set.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you
where are
very
you
much, John.
Where's the finance board? Are you at the fire station?
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the sound quality is a little tough. What is it? Overhead speakers or something? A microphone? It's hard to hear you.
Your sound quality is quite good, John. Your picture's not too good though.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get a higher chair. I can sit up a little bit.
There he is.
I'm here. I'm really here.
Well,
All
thank
right,
Maybe a
guys. Well,
booster,
listen, hey,
maybe
thanks
a
a lot for
booster
your
seat.
time. Enjoy your
you so
evening.
much.
All right. Bye-bye.
I hope this doesn't affect our ratings.
Yeah. Good
All
night.
right, 6 p.m., 6:01, we're on time. Board of Assessors, you have in your packet their contracted services Excel file and their expense file. And from the assessors, we have assessor, whoever that is. Could you come on, whoever is representing the assessors this evening? Hello, assessor? I don't know who it is because it simply says assessor. Or some version thereof. Well, we'll sit tight and I'll give you a quick overview. On the assessor's expense sheet being presented to us tonight, the total 2026 current fiscal year line item was $11,020. 6 month in, they're almost half that at 5,306 spent. The 2027 request is dropped to 8,680. Nice to see things go the other direction. I don't know the reason for that, but if somebody from the assessors shows and comes on, we may hear. At a glance, anybody see a significant change? Education's cut in half, office supplies is down. Laptop purchase. There you go. Laptop purchase $2,200 from the 2026 request. It wasn't carried forward, obviously. That seems to be the biggest difference. There's a message here, Karen Tonelli.
She's working on it.
Okay, she's working on her.
There's no video or sound, so she's either going to call in or I'm sure it's because she's on the server and she needs to get off in order to Zoom.
On the contracted services budget for the assessor's office, 2026 request is empty. Personnel costs, 33,500. 6 months in, they're already at 27,500. and their request is to go from 33.5 up to 38.5 for total personnel cost. That is level funded for the payment of the appraisal for the hydro. Nothing on the utility. Cyclical inspections is up from 6,000 to 7,500. And other contracted services, not previously budgeted 3,500, account for the bulk of that. As well, she's gone now. Any initial thoughts from anybody while she tries to get back on with a phone call or however, so we can have her speak to it? Doesn't appear she's having any luck.
There she is.
Yeah, good. Okay, Assessor Karen,
Yes.
if you're there,
Hi, can you hear me?
we can hear you. Will that work?
Great. So sorry. See about the video.
No problem.
Unable to detect the camera.
Okay. Well, we can hear you quite well, so let's proceed. I did take I'm sorry?
Yep. Yeah, you kind of did an overview.
Yes, I did an overview of both the contracted services sheet and the overall expense operating costs sheet. The
So operating costs being down a bit and then contracted services being up a bit, with the overall increase of both of those together being approximately 6%.
Okay. And the operating cost going down was primarily the laptop.
Primarily the laptop, some other things that I'm just sort of getting comfortable with after a couple of years of seeing what the office needs. So education went down. I just
So overall, that expense sheet is down from 11,020 to 8,680, 2,200 of which was a laptop purchase that was in the budget last year. And there's a couple that went up a few $100 and a couple that went down a few hundred, but obviously that is down overall. Any questions from select board members for Karen on the operating expense sheet? Hearing none, how about the finance committee?
No.
No.
Okay, we'll move on, Karen, to the contracted services. Would you like to speak to that? Did you lose your sound, Karen? Possibly. Not a good night for audio from the assessor's connection, I guess. All right. If she speaks up while we're moving forward, we'll hear from her. But as I said previously with a quick overview, the request went from 33,500 for those contracted services to 38,500. So a bump of only $5,000 there. Any questions, comments from select board members? From finance committee?
No, we're good. All set.
Okay. And Karen, if you can hear us but not speak to us, or see us. I think we're good. Thank you for the presentation and the brief explanation there, and we hope you can resolve your computer hiccup there. It's 6:10. Our next appointment is until 6:20, but it's not a public hearing, so we can proceed to the Emergency Management Director, who I see is on with us. Tom Williams had put in a capital request, and I think I took it out of my packet. But there was a capital request for $61,000 for generator at Cowell Gym. And it was decided to pull that request, but still to take a minute and speak to us with regard to it. So Tom, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everybody. Just wanted to appear tonight to officially withdraw my request for that $51,000 capital expense request.
Actually, 61.
61 or 51?
61 on the sheet you
61.
Okay, 61. Yeah, I just plan on spending a little more time then and do some more digging into research and see what I can come up for grants instead of trying to go through and uh, and have the town pay for it. So I'll just continue working on that a little more diligently.
Anything you can do to defray a portion thereof before it goes to town meeting for tax dollars to do it will be well received, I'm sure. So thank you for taking that on. I think that any questions or comments from select board members to Tom? From Finance Committee?
We're all set.
Great. Well, thank you. Appreciate it, Tom, on that and everything else you do. And I'd like to thank you for having both Rod and I at the training session you had in the Operations Center since our last meeting here. And we hear about it a lot, but I never sat there and experienced it. And it was great just to sit in the corner kind of and watch how you do it. And it's quite impressive. So great job.
Well, thank you, and the team thanks you too. They really were pleased that you were able to attend and see what they could do. So they've been working hard. Right now, we're working on a monthly schedule, the third Monday of each month. We do pretty much the same thing, just different scenarios. And in each month, I try to elevate the difficulty a little bit so that we continue to improve. So we're working hard on it. And our next step here is going to bring in the police chief, fire chief, and the highway superintendent and do pretty much the same thing as we did that night with you guys, and just see how we're going to integrate them into the operation as well.
Terrific. Keep up the good work. And
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, our next and final appointment for the night is scheduled for 6:50 with the police chief. We're way early for that. So we'll move on down the agenda and come back to it when Greg appears. Karen, if you can hear me, I see you've muted your microphone, so maybe you can hear again, but we did move on from yours. We appreciate your presentation of it, and if you have anything you want to add since you didn't have your microphone, you're welcome to. Or if you're good, you're welcome to take the rest of the night off.
Rick, while the Finance Committee is here and while we're waiting for Greg, there are two items under new business that are finance related, and that would be item B, request for funding from the emergency food pantry, and then the review of the special town meeting warrant.
And Terry, there's also the 49 mechanic stuff.
That's true too. I think that's probably going to take a little longer, but I did invite Greg to come on early if he's available.
Okay. Well, then let's go to new business item B. Dig through my file here, get to new business. We have a pile, don't we, tonight?
We do.
Okay. The first one, item B, is community action, Pioneer Valley. It's a request for $10,000 from the from the town of Shelburne for the ongoing operation of the West County Emergency Food Pantry. That is located in Cowell Gymnasium, basement level. They note that it's served West County residents since 2004. Services in Greenfield and Shelburne have seen a 33% increase, so I don't know how much of that applies to Shelburne, not really of interest. Here, 32% more food distributed in fiscal year 25 than in fiscal year 21. In November 2025, they saw an increased visits of Shelburne residents during the government shutdown and SNAP benefits disruption. From July 1st to December 31st of 20, no, that's wrong, can't be to 2026, so they maybe meant 2025. The food pantry served 96 town of Shelburne residents. When this came up last year for renewal, I had asked them in advance for a breakdown, and they supplied us a wheel of where their people were coming from. And it is truly West County because they serve Coleraine, Buckland, Charlemont, a lot of surrounding towns. But I didn't see any breakdown this year on it. And that's pretty much a reasonable overview, unless I missed something someone else in that letter would like to call forward. Any comments or thoughts on the $10,000 request for operations to the food pantry for the next fiscal year?
Just a reminder that we are not allowed by law to use town funding or taxation to augment a social service. So we used housing trust funds last year because they are part of a CDBG, grant funded program, and the town of Buckland also matched. This year, Buckland is not able to contribute any funding, and so the food pantry is reaching out to see if we have 10,000 more in our housing trust fund that we'd like to contribute for the ongoing food program at Cowell.
For next fiscal year.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Terry, when you said 10,000 more, is that in addition to funding that we're already providing them, or?
Yes, I forget in this fiscal year, we are either 10 or 20,000. I'd have to go back and look at the warrant, how it was worded, but
20.
it was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, each
So-
town contributed.
So
And didn't
20,
we tell them-
20 is already coming out of the housing trust fund, and we're considering another 10?
No, we're not considering it.
20 came out of last.
In this current fiscal year.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
now they're seeking additional funding for the coming year.
Right, but is the additional funding just this 10, or is it 10
Yes.
and oh, okay. I thought somehow that 10 was we were paying Buckland's share for them or something like
No.
that.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
a new year, new
Okay.
request.
Okay.
So last year when we did 20K, did Buckland match it and do 20K?
Yes.
Okay.
They had residual community development block grant money that they were able to contribute.
Okay.
Last year, didn't we say that? Didn't we tell them last year that they were going to need to look for other funding because that was the last 20, because the fund we were taking it from, there wasn't going to be enough. Am I remembering that right?
We did encourage the food pantry to look for other funding sources because the housing trust fund really is, it's not a fund that's going to continue to be replenished over the long haul. And like every other social service program, they're being affected by what's going on.
Okay.
And so they thought they would reach out and ask. But Buckland is not in a position to donate this year or to contribute.
And
Yeah.
Buckland does not have housing trust fund money?
I didn't ask that question. I just simply asked if they would have funding to give to the food pantry.
Right. Because I mean, I think the reason I'm asking that is because if both towns are prohibited from using their general funds, that means that any contribution we make is not actually increasing our tax levy. It's just using up our remaining grant funding.
Mhm.
That would also be true in Buckland.
Yeah, I can't speak for Buckland other than they said they were not contributing this year. They're
Yeah,
not
I
writing
mean,
grants.
the part that is sort of left unanswered though is if we together gave them 40,000 last year and they can somehow get by with 10,000 this year, they haven't really given us the full picture of how their operation is going to get funded.
Yeah, the last paragraph in their letter of request includes, since fiscal year 2024, we have lost 4 dependable grant awards that support staff, food cost, and operating costs at both food pantry sites, forcing us to make reductions to staffing. They are relying on private donations, other contributions, and limited agency block grants now more than ever. Any contribution from the town of Shelburne will benefit sustaining food pantry services for the town's residents. So I didn't see anything where it said we've been looking aggressively or specifically for what they did or didn't find, but it does say that they have been looking for grants, but it's limited availability. So
Am I correct that we provide them a rent-free space also?
They pay $50 a month to rent Cowell,
50 a month?
50.
Is that pretty close to rent-free?
pretty close, probably pays for the lights. Okay. So since this would be coming out of the Housing Trust Fund, if we did agree to, what do we need to do this evening? Anything?
I think we
No,
need to
it would
think
go
about
on the warrant if the select board and finance committee agreed to fund it.
And we would need to make that agreement tonight or in a future joint meeting?
We could make it at a future joint meeting.
Yeah.
What's
We need to
what
think
is-
about it.
What's the remaining balance in the trust fund?
Let me see if I can pull that quickly. Hmm. I can let you know in a few minutes. I don't have it handy.
No, that's fine. It's just relevant to the upcoming item.
Exactly. There's plenty for
Okay.
sure, but I want to say it's 200 and some, but
Okay.
No, we shouldn't.
okay, we can table that for a bit and Greg is here.
Okay. All right, Chief, welcome. We're a little early for you. Thank you for coming on early. Our appointments went very quickly tonight. I believe yours is the last budget to be presented. We have in front of us the police operating expense sheet and the police salaries expense sheet. We'll ask you to give us an overview on both, but I will let both the Finance Committee and fellow Select Board members know that, as you know, I serve on the Police Services Advisory Committee, and the contents of these 2 sheets have been reviewed and approved unanimously to bring forward from the police department with their support. And I'll remind you that that is actually that board is actually roughly evenly split between Buckland residents and Shelburne residents per the municipal agreement for the 2-town service that the Shelburne Police Department does. So Greg, where would you like to start tonight?
Um, Good evening, everybody. I guess we'll start with the operating budget for the police department. Um, Looking down column 2026 for January 15th, I provided some numbers. I don't know if you have them, but I have them in front of me, and I can go through them, or I can just tell you that we're kind of right at at that point in January. We basically hit the 50% mark of our expending our budget. But there are some things that seem to be trending lower than expected, and a couple things that trended up a tad bit. But for the most part, from 2026 to the request for 27, we're looking at going from 91,700 to 89,800, and I'll contribute that. And mind you, I submitted this prior to Iran, but the gas consumption for cruisers is down significantly. We've noticed that ever since we've started implementing the hybrids, the gas budget seems to be trending in a downward pattern compared to when we were running all gas cruisers. So you'll see that number in 2025 we used about 15,100. In January of this year, which is just over a little bit halfway over the year, we've only utilized about 6,500 of that. So I dropped the request for the gasoline budget from 18,000 to 16,000 with the hopes that that's reasonable, and we'll take care of that situation. Everything else below has essentially been level funded, with the exception of water. We dropped that $100 in 2025. We budget about $500 for bottled water. We used $340 in 2025, so I dropped that budget to 400. Took $100 off that. Propane, I level funded that just because I don't. It's one of those things that fluctuates. Last year we used about $8,200 worth. In January we were at 3,200, and actually I can pull it up if anyone's interested in where we're at right now. But that was the other line item that dropped, and then one that went up was dues and fees. Dues and fees incorporates a couple things, but mostly the fees for Central Squared Technologies, who runs our incident records management system, had an uptick in their yearly or their annual fees. So that's what that represents. That. So all in all, it went from 91,700 to 89,800, which I think is good.
Terrific. Any questions from the select board?
My only comment is a small and nitpicky one about bottled water, which is that there's a lot of reporting in the news these days about microplastics that come into our bodies from utilizing plastic containers. So my advice to both the town hall and the police department is, if you're concerned about your health that from drinking town water, you should be equally concerned about drinking out of plastic containers.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Andrew. And if we were on town water, I don't think it would be an issue for us. I'd be drinking tap water. I drink tap water at my house. I think we've got wonderful people that take care of us in regards to the water. But currently at the police department, we utilize a water filtration system because the water, some of the testing that we did prior is just it hinders on whether or not it's drinkable. So I agree. I catch all the stuff about microplastics quite a bit. It's kind of spooky, and I've switched all my chopping blocks to wood and so forth and so on. But
well, that's good to know. I didn't realize you had a water problem up there, but thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, yep.
Any comments, Rod?
No comments.
Finance Committee, comments or questions?
Nope. None.
Very good. Let's move on to police salaries.
Police salaries, a couple things. You are most likely looking at an increase that is more than the recommended 3.5%. That's not necessarily across the board, but it's something I thought should be brought up, addressed, and requested. My salary is a contracted salary, which has been discussed with the town already. Moving down the line, we have our sergeants, our full-time officers, administrative assistant, and overtime, and our reserve officer budget. I'll just point out real quick, and then I'll get to the increases. The reserve officer budget last year was budgeted at 53,000. The year before that, it was budgeted at 58,000. The year before that, I think it was budgeted, I want to say 62,000. And as you can see, what was expended in 2025 out of that reserve officer budget was about $27,000, just shy of 27,000. The department has historically returned upwards of 20,000 plus in this line item. So I would consider that a pattern. And over the years, the reason that that's been budgeted out, I've explained this to the committees that I'm on, and the reason it's been built up in such a way is to cover vacation time, sick time, holidays, and all the shift coverage that we need, or I think we need in town. What's happening is we've been creative with how we cover vacations. There's some shifts that we've been having trouble with, specifically on certain eve shifts that sometimes we can only get one officer on. Unfortunately, with the part-time officers that we have, there's 6 left. I cannot mandate that they work. So when we get into a situation where, as folks get older, their families grow, their full-time jobs become more prioritized, we lack the availability to fill in certain shifts that we'd like to see in an ideal world covered, but they're not being covered. So we've gotten creative with hours and with how we deal with when folks leave for vacation times and such. So after going over the last couple of years, it's been determined that I'd feel comfortable budgeting for about $20,000 less, give or take, which puts that reserve officer budget at $32,420. And go from there. I think the one thing that has happened in the past is our overtime budget gets blown out a little bit. We've got 10,000. We've always essentially budgeted that as a level funded line item, but the officers are, some of the officers, if we can't fill a weekend shift and one of our full-time officers want to jump on, work a double or work both Saturday and Sunday, they've been doing that just because I'd rather have some shift than no shift. So that being said, with the numbers and the officers that we have, the coverage, it should stay the same. Because like I said, we're getting creative with vacation time. Typically, if there's a time where we can move somebody, have them come in like half a day, work into the half the eve, get the meat and potatoes of where our call volumes are, I think that budget can stay at that 32,000 for 2027 and see where it goes, but I'm comfortable in doing that. So that being said, I reallocated some of those funds and took a look at who we have for officers and where we're at in the job market. What drew my attention to this was not too long ago, Northfield PD had posted a full-time position for a new police officer coming on with a starting salary range of $32 to $37 an hour, which is about $75,000 for a starting officer to jump on and start working. Our officers, but Bedravich has been on for 16 years. Gilmore's worked as a full-time police officer for 18 years. Jenkins 5, Pettengill upwards of 20,000 in a full-time capacity, or 20 in a full-time capacity, and Belanger for 6. And we've got a great crew. The work that they've been doing has been, I think, fantastic. And I wanted to show that by requesting about essentially between a 3.6 and a 3.8% increase, a raise, not a cost of living, but a raise for the officers, of which I think in the 7 years I've been chief, I don't think I've ever asked for a raise aside from when we did the wage classification study. So the numbers I don't think are outside the norm. I think they track pretty well with the county. And in doing so, and with the adjustment in the reserve officer line item, the salaries budget has gone up basically 3.5%. So there's let's see here if I can find the number. There's a $14,000 increase from FY26 to FY27, which equates to about 3.5% increase in the salaries budget. And for the police department, with salaries and expenditures, the police department's budget would be going up 2.7%.
Great. Well covered. Questions or comments? Anyone from the select board?
Yeah, I just had one question, Greg. When you mentioned that you're covering weekend shifts by having people work double shifts, does that mean they're earning overtime on a double shift?
In some cases, they are. Yes. Yep.
Okay. I was just wondering why you're making that decision rather than bring in a reserve officer to cover that shift if you're paying somebody time and a half versus paying somebody a straight wage.
Yeah. So the only time that I'll ever have, and we've gone over this at department meetings, the only time I would ever force anybody in to work an overtime shift is if that shift was completely uncovered. I can't mandate part-time officers to work. Therefore, when we put out a request for people's availability, which we do with our part-time employees, they say, I can only work this day this month. Some of our employees they might not give us a shift that month. So if there's an open Saturday, and mind you, they have to go, there's an approval process. So it's not willy-nilly. It doesn't make sense. I'm okay with one officer covering both towns if it means that we've got some sort of coverage for like a day shift or an eve shift. Some situations where it's been like a busy fall weekend, I'll go in. I'll just go in and work with whomever's working the day shift, or one of the other full timers will offer up to go in. Hey, I can give you 4 hours during this period. I know there's a bike race, or I know that there's this thing going on at the pub, or so yeah. Ideally, and I would love to have the part timers fill those shifts 100%. And quite frankly, I'm still scratching my head. I'm trying to figure out, where we can gather more part-time help. But I kind of had a feeling this was coming, and I think I've preached about it beforehand. But at this point in time, it makes more sense for me to do what I can with what I've got, keeping within that overtime line item budget for this upcoming year, and then really maybe start thinking about the cost of the reserve officers, the overtime, so forth and so on, and how that relates to where we are and what we want for coverage as a town, and the amount of full-time officers that we have. So
No, I think you clarified that for me. It sounds like then that you are offering or asking for a double shift only after you've exhausted other options then.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense to me. And the raise that you're asking for is effectively at 7% if it's on top of the 3.5 COLA, right?
Effectively, if you want to call the cost of living a raise, but I think it probably cancels out when you start adding in cost of
Yeah. No,
everything
I
else.
wasn't calling it a raise. I was just saying that that's the increase that we're
Yeah.
budgeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it actually, I broke down the numbers. It's like a 7.1, and that's not necessarily across the board. That tenth kind of deviates a little bit here and there.
Okay.
Finance Committee, questions, comments?
No questions here.
No false set. Thank you.
Great. Super. Chief, if you wouldn't mind, thank you very much for that presentation. And if you wouldn't mind, we have another item on the agenda tonight, which is your lockout proposed policy. Would you
Yes.
mind if we jump forward to that and address it?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
Finance Committee, if you guys are able to stay, as Terry mentioned before, we do have several more items on the agenda that are have finance implications. And if you can stay on, great. If you can't, totally understood.
We'll be here.
Great. Okay, in your packet is the policy information and presentation, including the informed consent waiver, which is really the nuts and bolts of it. Chief, give us the thumbnail of why this came about and why you're asking for it.
So, routinely, I'd say, especially during the busy season, summer, fall, we get hammered with lockout calls. I would say that if you have AAA and you've had to utilize AAA, you've become accustomed to about a 2 to 3 hour wait at times. So what ends up happening is folks call the police department looking for assistance in gaining access to their vehicles, which is not uncommon. I'd say for any municipal agency, police department. That being said, there was a couple times some of the more tricky vehicles, i.e., or more expensive vehicles, ones that you kind of get anxious about, using the equipment that we use on the doors and windows. Some of our officers brought up, hey, maybe it'd be a good idea to, just have like a waiver that we can have signed, or a notice that states that the town and the officer won't be held liable for any damages that may occur while they're trying to do the process of getting into the vehicle and unlocking it. Now, of course, excuse me, that's a separate thing from if there was a child or an animal in a hot car. We don't necessarily need the waiver at that point, but I'm talking, downtown, someone locks their keys in their car, or at the house. Even we've had people call, they're at their residence and they can't get in. They've only got one set of keys. What we use is a plastic piece that we kind of have to bang into the side of the crack of the door or the window, and it just opens it up enough for us to get a metal piece in and either grab the keys or pop the unlock. And when we do that, sometimes there's a bit of a paint transfer from the plastic piece that we use. And sometimes, the rubber sealing might pop off and we have to pop it back on. So again, it was more or less reminding folks that it's not a service that is mandated for the police department to do. Sometimes folks will get rather upset if, they have to wait for us. We were on a call. I think the policy that I had written out clearly states that, in case of an actual, like a traumatic emergency, your locked door might take a back seat to whatever's going on. And in addition to that, just making sure that, the town's covered in case someone says, hey, you never told me that this is going to, possibly scratch my door or whatever. It's been something I think is probably long overdue and made a lot of sense. Or we just don't do it. But if we have the capability of doing it in the tools and resources, and someone's willing to say, hey, yeah, I'm 2 hours away from home and I'd like my doors unlocked, and we can do it in a timely fashion, whereas AAA might be 3 hours out, we have no problem doing it. We've gotten pretty proficient at it. So
So as you said, it is a courtesy, not a part of the department, and putting an official policy in place with a waiver kind of gives us a little buffer of liability in the event of damage created when you're trying to do a good deed. That's understandable that the officers would be a bit concerned and bring that forward to you. I will add only that the Police Services Advisory Committee reviewed this in depth and voted unanimously to support its creation as well. So we'll move on. Questions, comments from the Select Board on this matter? Hearing none. Finance Committee, just any comments? You're good. All right. I think for this to take effect, we would need to put it to a vote. Is that correct, Terry? Do we have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the lockout policy.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put the matter to a vote. Andrew?
Aye.
Rod?
Aye.
I am aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Thank you, Greg, for bringing that forward. And I think we can let you go.
Great. Thanks. Best of luck, everybody, with the rest of the night.
Appreciate
You
it.
too. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. So we tabled community action Pioneer Valley request for $10,000. Are we tabling it to a future joint meeting, or were we tabling it for this point tonight here?
I'm okay to move forward with a motion to approve. I guess my preference and my strong recommendation for next year is that if they do come forward with any sort of request next year, that somebody come and present their budget to us so we have a better understanding of what they're doing up there. If they're reducing staff, how many hours they're going to be open, what kind of impacts that will have on their customers. We just had that letter they sent us just did not have much information in it.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Further comments from finance?
We were on mute for a minute, so you're discussing the food pantry request?
Yes.
Okay, my comment on that is that, we provide rent, basically, let new space. It's a West County food pantry. Are they requesting funds from any other town?
No, only Buckland. We asked that
Buckland
last
said
year.
no.
Maybe they
Okay.
did, but we know they're not requesting any. We did ask that last year.
It's just, why are they asking for Shelburne?
The Shelburne always says yes.
Shelburne's almost considered the rich town, and we ask for money. Do the Shelburne residents need the food pantry?
Yeah,
Again-
they do. They do document that, at least, that they're saying they're serving 100 Shelburne residents.
Do they know what the Shelburne addresses are? I doubt it.
That I can't promise you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just, it's a West County food pantry. They only come to Shelburne to ask for funds.
I'm in agreement with you, Jim. I'm not super pumped about this this request, both the lack of presentation and the lack of detail, as well as the apparent lack of engaging with other towns in West County.
And why don't we table it and ask them to come forward again later?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
It's a good idea. I like that idea.
Do we have time to do that, Terry?
I could yes, I could ask if they could come to the next meeting.
Sounds like that's what people want to do.
We don't need a motion to do that, to table it?
No.
Consider it done. We'll bring this up at our, consider it tabled, and we will bring it up at our next meeting and expect them to have representation to give us the what for and the details a little more specific than that letter did. As I said last year, when they brought up looking for 20,000, they provided a wheel of how many people from each of the towns they serve out of our location, and it was unimpressive as far as, it wasn't like 75% Shelburne people. Wasn't close to that as I recall, but I'd like to get information, something like that, at that next session. Okay, the other item with financial implication. Why can't I say that word tonight? With financial issue is the review of the special town meeting warrant. And we do have that updated most recently sometime today, this afternoon, perhaps. We have it scheduled for April 8th at 6:30, a special town meeting. And again, my packet is all out of order, but I'm sure I have it here somewhere. There it is.
Rick, also under old business, there will be, Andrew's proposing 3 warrant articles with financial impact,
Where
but that came late today.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an initial draft with 5 articles. If you're looking at the right one, there's only 4 articles in the current, most recent version of the posting for the special town meeting, April 8th. And it's basically transferring funds to cover shortfalls. The third article, transfer of funds to cover an outstanding Eversource invoice for work done in a prior year that we apparently didn't know about until now. Any questions, comments on that and its financial impact, or in advance of town meeting, or do we just simply need to vote to set that as the town meeting date, special town meeting date? Do we need to vote that date?
Nope, the vote was, the date of the special town meeting has been set with the assistance of the moderator, the town clerk, Memorial Hall Association, and the finance committee are aware. It's more a matter of reviewing each article and making sure that no one has any questions or concerns.
Okay. Are there any?
I don't. My only question is, Terry, did you send any notice to the two-town news about the special meeting?
No, I addressed your email this afternoon and said that once this is reviewed and approved, you're more than welcome to share that to town, or I can, either
Okay.
way.
Okay.
So there are no questions or comments on the line items in the articles in the special town meeting warrant. So we will deal with that come April 8th at Memorial Hall. Okay, and the last item with financial implications came in a few hours ago, basically. 3 warrant articles with regard to the Mechanic Street lot. In a nutshell, the lot was non-conforming. The desire was to give it to Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity, but it didn't meet, so the town voted to reduce the frontage requirement to 50 feet to make that lot possible to be used for affordable housing, which is the condition of the article that was passed. And the assessor said there's less than 50. A survey was brought forth by private fundraising by one of our members, and the survey I have a copy of from the Habitat folks shows a 20% discrepancy between the town assessor's record and what this initial survey showed. But if the survey is correct, it would thus qualify. So Andrew wants to move forward with additional work for preparing that lot. But I don't know if anybody's had time to see them yet. As I say,
We're even talking about what.
it went out around,
We haven't seen anything.
okay. I think it went out, what, 3:30, something like that today. I just
Uh-huh.
caught it when I got back here to get ready for the meeting. I gave it a quick scan. Andrew, I'll let you speak to it, but one thing that just caught my attention was on the last item. It references selling it to a private developer. I think
A nonprofit housing developer.
a nonprofit housing developer, but is Habitat out of it?
No, that would include Habitat. It's there's no sort of prearrangement to give this to Habitat unless the town were to actually vote to do that. I just received information actually from Habitat, who I've been consulting with, because they are likely the only nonprofit housing developer who will bid on this if we do put out an RFP. But they sent me some information today saying that we may not even need to do an RFP if we elect not to. So that's actually something that I've suggested to Terry that I'd like to see our town attorney review and advise us about. They did the material that Megan from Habitat sent me did say that if we were going to surplus this property in order to transfer it to a housing developer or nonprofit. The only people we can transfer it to, according to the bylaw we passed, is a nonprofit housing developer. Um, but if we were to do that, we would need to do an appraisal of the property first. So that would be an additional pre-development task. And the reason being that we would determine the value of the land by appraisal so that they could appropriately structure their deed restriction, saying that this house would not be sold just on the open market, at some point in the future, but that the town's contribution would be preserved in perpetuity, which is how Habitat structures their deed restricted housing, in order to keep it affordable for the long term. So that's just more grist for the mill. I think one thought is if finance has not seen any of this draft text yet, Terry, do you think we can consider this at our next meeting and give them a chance to look at it, or and have our attorney review it, or should we try to go through it tonight?
I would suggest when you sent it to me today, I asked if it was okay if I shared it with Rod and Rick prior to the meeting. I
Yeah.
just did because I knew it was going to come up. I
Yeah.
do think it would be beneficial for you to walk through each article and what your intent is. Then I can send it off to Donna between now and April 6th, see if she
Okay.
has any concerns.
Great. So just to build on Rick's little intro there, a few points. We did bring it to a vote. It came to a tie vote at the very end of the evening there, and a tie vote is a no vote. So we went back to the drawing board for another year. In that time, um, other people in town raised money um, for the property survey. I'm actually not legally allowed to do that, so or at least not ask Shelburne people for money. So I did not do that, but I did contribute to the survey myself, even though I did not ask other people to do that. Other people did step forward. We did get the survey done. The survey does show, as Rick mentioned, that there is enough frontage to rebuild a house on that lot, according to the bylaw that we passed. Um, so the remaining tasks, in order to render that lot buildable and therefore acceptable to a group like Habitat, is to complete other pre-development tasks. One of those things was addressing the update of the flood risks of the property, which Jim Burnham kindly gave us a heads up about. I did consult with both the FERCog and the DCR experts on that. The FEMA flood maps are being updated as we speak for the first time in about 45 years, and they do have new areas that they are proposing for flood risk in the village of Shelburne Falls. The pink on their map is the 100-year flood risk. The yellow is 500-year uh, flood risk. This property has no pink areas on it. Those would carry both flood insurance and building code regulatory requirements. If you have pink on your property, you got some research to do. Um, if you have yellow on your property, according to these new draft maps, which should be completed by 2027, they say, um, there is no regulatory requirement for the 500-year floodplain area. So that provided some assurance to the folks at Habitat and hopefully to other nonprofit housing developers that that lot does not have a big extra flood risk burden attached to it. And probably a lot of other people in the village are breathing easier as a result as well, because there's a lot of yellow in the village. And so we have addressed the flood risk area, and we've addressed the property survey issue this year. The tasks before us still, we've consulted a little bit with the Concom. They would like to see a wetlands delineation presented to them in order to get a letter of determination from them about wetlands. Initial consultation with wetlands experts have led us to a fairly high degree of confidence that there are no wetlands associated with that property. But I think we will propose to go forward and actually get a wetlands delineation drawn as one of our pre-development tasks in order to satisfy the Concom. If they want one, we should give them one. And the other major pre-development task is to perform a phase one environmental assessment, which is basically a preliminary survey to determine there are no sort of obvious hazards like underground fuel tanks and other things like that. So that I have put forward this basically the same article I did last year to see if the town will approve up to 10,000 from the Housing Trust Fund to complete those and other pre-development tasks. Another task could be getting an appraisal for the property, as I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if anything else will come up, but I'm fairly confident that $10,000 will cover that pre-development work that remains. The other task that I discussed with Terry, which seemed to make sense, was to take the barn down on the property to demolish it so that we no longer have to pay property insurance on it during whatever interval remains for our tenure. And will be one step forward in terms of Habitat or similar group being able to actually construct housing on that property. Habitat has informed me that their liability insurance does not allow their volunteers to do demolition work, so they would need other kinds of assistance for that. So I have put a warrant article on that the town will approve the use of $10,000 from the Shelburne Housing Trust Fund to clean out and demolish the small barn. I actually might bump that up by $1,000 or $2,000 I just received hours ago a quote from Associated Building Records, which was just under $10,000 for both the demolition work and the asbestos survey that's required in order to get a demolition permit. I have looked at the property with Jeff, the highway super, and with the building records person. There is a small, about um, one piece of sheetrock's worth of old horsehair plaster in one corner of the inside of the barn that could have asbestos in it. Other than that, we could not see any known asbestos risks, so I think that risk is pretty low. Um, the property is pretty chock full of stuff. I had not opened the barn ever in the 20 years or so it's been since the fire, and apparently whoever owned the place cleaned it out before before it was demolished, and put all that stuff in storage bins in the barn. So there's a lot of storage bins in that barn. So we'll have to have a big tag sale and to rent a dumpster to clean out the barn before it gets demoed. Um, but so I do have at least one quote there. If we get three quotes under 10K, then we don't need to go out to bid. Or if we get three, yeah. So those are the two Housing Trust Fund articles for a total of 20,000. And then the third article reads to see if the town will agree to conduct a request for proposals to seek a nonprofit housing developer to build a single-family home on the town-owned lot located at 49 Mechanic Street, provided the lot is determined to be buildable. And the town agrees to transfer the lot for consideration of $1 to the successful bidder, provided the bidder agrees to accept the property and to make a good faith effort to build an affordable single-family home on the lot. If construction does not commence within 5 years of property transfer, the lot shall revert to town ownership. So that's my draft article. But I'd like to get Donna to review that and to give us advice on whether we should or need to do an RFP or not. And we can hopefully get more information about that from her at our next meeting.
How did you pick 5 years?
Oh, again, just consulting with Habitat and on their schedule, they suggested that was a prudent window to, in case things come up, in their construction schedule and stuff.
Okay.
Rick, I have someone who's wishing to join the meeting by phone. If you would ask who they are, if I let them in, that'd be great.
That's me. It keeps freezing.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Rod.
There we go.
So those are the three warrant articles, roughly similar to what existed last year. But we have taken a few steps forward since last year, and we've done more and we've learned more, and we're a few steps closer to having a buildable lot, but not all the way there yet.
So I think without the finance committee having seen it and me having read it once, Rod, have you seen it to read?
Just briefly.
Okay. Given its late hour, I think that's a good plan, is to get this review, run it by Donna, and then take it up at our next select board meeting. That makes total sense to me.
Rick,
Correct, yeah,
none of us at the finance committee have received any email about that.
yeah, I just checked too, I don't have it either.
I was going through 250 emails today, so by the time I received it, I only sent it to the select board
Oh, okay,
members.
cool,
My
I didn't know
apologies.
if I accidentally deleted it or something.
No.
So-
The board hadn't seen it up until this afternoon.
Okay, cool. If you wouldn't mind just shooting it over to us.
I'd be happy to.
I think we should send the Associated Records proposal over to, and
Yeah. I'll put those things together to you again, Terry, because I did add a small phrase to the last draft that I sent you, just to make the pre-development work more clear as to who was authorizing that, I said any other needed pre-development work as determined by the select board. So it just clarifies who is deciding on what is pre-development work.
Okay.
Good. Well, I think you did address all the things that Habitat had listed for conditions before they would consider it
Yeah,
a year ago, before we got to town meeting last year. And the only one that's kind of open-ended is the Phase 1 environmental survey. Their paperwork that they gave us at that time was, should anything be found, then you'd need to pay for Phase 2. So that's the only one that's would be a fingers crossed that nothing gets found.
exactly.
Other than that, I think you've addressed all the ones that they said in this from my memory, but it'll
Right.
be a lot better if we all have time to read it, sleep on it for less than an hour or two, and deal with it next week. Let's see what
Sound-
Don says as well.
Sounds good.
Sorry, in 2 weeks, next meeting. Well, thanks for that overview there, Andrew. So Finance Committee, I believe those were all the ones we wanted you to have in here too, if you would like to go on to your other business.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
great,
Lee.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good
for
night.
coming. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good night.
All right. The jumble begins again. We're back to new business, unless I'm missing something, item C, which is Brick and Feather Brewery, request for a one-day liquor license application. This is at the August event at Apex Orchard. It's an event that they've done many, many times, and actually a couple times a year, I think. They do another one in the fall. So this just seemed routine to me, and their liability certificate is included as well as the application. Any questions, comments, or motion?
So moved.
Second.
To approve, I assume you meant.
Yes, I'm sorry. They have been there before, so we're
Yep.
experienced with them. Yeah.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, put the matter to a vote. Andrew,
I
Rod,
Aye.
and I am I. Motion passes 3-0-0. Lockout, special autonomy. We're good. Any other business? Our next meeting, April 6th. That's not the special town meeting, is it?
No,
No,
the
it's
8th is the
not.
town
Okay,
meeting.
that's the 8th. So we got two that week. Okay, is there any other business I'm unaware of to be brought up tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence. We have the letter of resignation from Rick Grant, who has worked for the town to a great extent, comes every time he's asked, helped us out in pinches at the transfer station and other duties through the highway department. Great guy. He works on with the emergency management director on projects there. He gives back. Although he's not a Shelburne resident, he still gives back a lot to the town of Shelburne currently. And sad to see him go, but other things are taking his attention. And he did, when we were without a transfer station attendant, step up and gave us several weeks of very worst kind of weather we could ever have. He plowed through up there. So I think we should accept this letter of resignation with sincere thanks, and we'll feel the loss. No action other than that needed to be done.
That's correct.
I assume both my select board members agree with that.
I agree with that.
Terrific.
Yeah.
To be
Thanks
missed.
to Rick. He has all of our appreciation.
Definitely. The last thing, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll sent a letter to Terry, who once again did a great job scoring this, shepherding if it wasn't for our town administrator taking the bull by the horns, if you will, this wouldn't have happened. But in a nutshell, appreciating call it the digital divide to some extent of how IT and platform communications, web site restrictions and coming requirements, the protections involved. How do we get that digital accessibility requirement met? Because I've done one for a bank and it's very expensive, very extensive. And when Terry approached the contact at the Council of Governments, there was one that had to be filed real short notice. Terry did the bulwark, but it had to come from a lead town, and other towns joined in with a quick survey. Terry did the paperwork, and we got the announcement that through her efforts, we got $140,000 grant through the Community Compact Cabinets Information Technology Grant Program. So thank you so much for doing that, Terry. The town owes you. You give it your all for sure.
I couldn't have done it without Linda Dunleavy's help. We had originally applied for 200,000 on behalf of 15 towns and were awarded 140. So Linda and I will meet this week or next and figure out how to stretch those dollars across the 15 communities.
And it is going to be I should have kept finance committee. It is going to be a project that's expensive to meet the forward coming requirements, to meet that accessibility standard that is coming. But for now, we'll take the win. Terry, thank you so much for getting that done.
You're welcome.
We have a moment. Any other correspondence of which I'm not aware? Item final, public comment. Anyone from the public on who would like to make a comment? I see Mr. John Walsh has unmuted. Is that an assumption you may wish to speak, sir?
It is, sir. I did send a quick text there. So just a quick update. The Cowell Gymnasium shades should be going in on April 15th, tentatively scheduled for that. And the RFQ for the tab room is nearing completion. Cross my heart and hope to die. And then I had just one other comment based on the food bank discussion, which is when I was at the gym as the director and there on Wednesdays, the vast majority of people that I saw were actually from Highland Village and elderly people coming in from town. Yes, there are many other people coming in from Coleraine and other places, but I think almost every person at Highland Villages is signed up for food stamps and food bank type assistance. And just, I would hope you consider that in your discussions as to whether or not going forward it's worth the investment and continue to support them through other funding agencies. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very good. I believe we are good to go if we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? We have to do roll call. Rod?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
My motion passes 3-0-0. We are adjourned at 7:18. Thank you all very much for a lot done tonight. Appreciate it.
A lot more to do.
Hang on, it is the season.
Yes.
Take
Good
care.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.